Hey everyone, welcome to Adobe Live. I am Brooke Hopper. I'm a principal designer for machine intelligence and new technologies. That's a mouthful. Basically just means I work on new stuff.
Yes, cool stuff.
And I'm here with Jason, my favorite evangelist.
You are very kind. Nice to see you, Brooke.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
It's been like 3 years.
It's been like 3 years, and I wanted to share with our audience, so we've worked together on Adobe Max multiple times.
That's right.
But what people might not know is that we were also part of a joint venture here at Adobe, an slightly ill-fated joint venture called The Make It Show.
That's right.
Yes. You were on it, even you forgot about it.
I did.
Really cool interview-style show, talking to cool creatives.
Was super cool.
In the old studio,
Yeah.
and nobody watched it.
Yeah,
So
that's a bummer. We're going to blame it all on these people here.
Yeah. But it's great to see you, and thanks for having me on today. And I'm super excited to kind of talk to Firefly and the future of video in Firefly, and kind of, just hear from the community about what people want to see, because we released this super cool video.
We did.
And it's really kind of about the future of the concepts that we're exploring.
Yeah.
But I know you've been working very closely on all of this and have a lot of insight. And I posted earlier this morning to Reddit, to our crowd, our video community on Reddit, to see sort of what they want to see. And we've been doing this on Twitter and on Discord, so we're going to be taking a lot of feedback and community comments throughout the hour. And we have lots of good stuff to talk about.
Yeah. Are we rolling the video now, or do
why
we want to wait?
Why don't we go ahead and roll the video? So if you haven't seen it already, on Tuesday, we put out a blog post on the adobe.com blog site where we introduced kind of this new direction that we're investigating video with Adobe Firefly. So Jacob, if you're ready, let's cut to the video.
When I get to the crag, I'm putting on my shoes. When I get to the crag, I'm putting on my shoes, I'm chopping up, and then I'm excited to get on the wall, but when I get on the wall, I'm focused.
That was insane.
It's really cool.
Yeah. I have to say, so I mean, the chat was going crazy, which is awesome. Exactly what we love to see. But I have to say, I am one of those people. I am a graphic designer, UX designer by trade. I dabble in video on time to time. I used to work on Fresco, and I designed the motion stuff in Fresco. Nice. But I designed it for people like me, pretty simple. I don't get into the nitty gritty. And when I see this video, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to help me do the stuff that I could do it. It would take a really long time, but it's like a helper.
Indeed. And I guess it also kind of showcases some of the things that we actually really want to highlight and talk about today. And again, get your feedback. You and the community, we want your feedback. You saw a lot of AI-assisted workflows. So there was some generative AI. They were generating music, they were generating the backgrounds and other things. But we already do a lot of this in Premiere, and I imagine maybe in about 30 minutes or so, we're going to dip into some of the new features just recently announced at the NAB conference earlier this week.
Monday.
What day is today? Yeah, it was Monday.
Days, years,
months. It means nothing post-COVID. Just announced at NAB, again, which kind of leverage AI-assisted workflows using Adobe Sensei. And a lot of these have already been in Premiere Pro for quite some time. So this is not a totally new area of exploration for us. We're just now augmenting it. And what that video really showcases is it's the vision, it's the exploration that we're doing. And again, I want to really highlight that what we're hoping to get from all of you today watching is, what do you want to see? What do you envision the future of Firefly and video being. You know, it's
Right.
You talked about it. We were just discussing it earlier. The generative side is one thing, and I was saying, yeah, I mean, I could imagine shooting here in San Francisco and trying to get a golden hour shot on the beach.
Oh my God.
And maybe it's just not sunny enough, right?
Because it's never sunny in San Francisco.
Because although today is surprisingly sunny.
Today. Yeah.
But you know, I'm wanting something that's that true golden hour look with crashing blue waves and seagulls. We just saw how that could potentially become a possibility and something that you could iterate on really, really quickly. Yeah. And I think that's amazing. I would never have envisioned myself doing or needing something like that.
Right.
But thinking about it today, like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, or you know, I'm sure a bunch of people here watching the stream, you know, you do something for a client and you spend hours and hours and hours, you know, rendering a video, and they come back and they're like, so that little tiny thing that's red, we want it to be purple. Yeah. And you're like, that's more hours out of my life that I don't have anymore, and I have a deadline.
It's the unspoken. So I just want to give a couple shouts while we're here in the tradition of all of our streams. I see we've got Parzival, very cool, nice to see you. Meredith, Wade, Trinity, Henrik Heigl, definitely Firefly music module. Yes, and I have to say that music in particular, you know, as a composer, as a music person, I'm pretty snobby. Again, I could see an instance where I don't feel like composing, I don't feel like multi-tracking a bunch of things. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Super, super easy to do. I love the kind of implementation that we're envisioning. Alincia, Umacorn, great to see you. Robert Wennerberg, Katarina, Trinity Artworks, very, very cool. Nice to see you all here.
It says more billable hours.
Yes.
Agree.
Never tell them how long it takes you. The fact that AI is advancing so quickly, that's not to be discussed. So,
Well, the thing I want to bring up, because I know it's a hot topic. I used to work on Fresco, and like the illustration community is having, you know, like understandably, like I don't want something to generate an entire illustration.
Right.
But I think Adobe's point of view is what happens if, Firefly could help you generate, a few sketches.
Right.
Or, you sort of like rough out what you want, and it helps fill in a few of the details.
Yeah.
Really being, just part of your workflow that's not taking over, because no one wants anything to take over the creative process. I don't.
Right. I don't either.
I certainly don't.
That's why we're in this business. That's why all of you are in this business, right? You ultimately love it. You love the creativity that comes with all of that, and sometimes the struggle, and sometimes not the struggle.
Totally.
And this is something that can, in many ways, alleviate the struggle, but at the same time allow you to be even more creative. What a truly marketing-sounding line that is.
I want it when I want it, and I don't when I don't.
That's right, and it's also true. So before we kind of get to reading out some of the comments here, and again, task for all of you watching, what do you envision? What would you like to see? Do you want to see, I want to be able to generate video. I want to be able to automatically track the camera movement in a 2D video. I want to automatically generate jazz music, blah, 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 whatever it is. Tell us that now in the chat. Before we get started though, I did want to give a nice shout out to our friends at Reddit, the Premiere subreddit. They've been extremely supportive of our community, of me in particular. So a quick shout out to NLE Ninja 85, the Largadier, John Pooley, and Shane H 7646. Thank you so much. You can actually see my post. There it is right there, which is pinned up at the top here. Imagining Adobe Firefly for video. What would you like to see? And we're going to start by going to some of the comments here. So this came in a couple hours ago from Rohit Ghansham. Now again, we're talking about a lot of different things, and he had some really great ideas in here, and there were a couple that I wanted to point out in particular. So this first one up at the top here, auto timeline level sound mixing. Now he's referring to, for those of you who know, we have auto ducking via the Essential Sound panel, which allows you in Premiere or Audition to, if you've got dialogue, and you've got music underneath that dialogue, it'll use AI to analyze essentially the amplitude of the dialogue and automatically scoop out the music to make room for that dialogue in your interview, in your edit. Super cool. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but it usually does the job. But more importantly, one of the things that he makes mention of here is sort of AI-based mixing, where theoretically, why couldn't you have the AI balance everything, balance sound design, balance sound effects, balance music, kind of in a, whether it's one click or multi-slider configuration. Again, I'm a mix engineer. That's how I used to make my bread and butter, so to speak. I really hate expressions and colloquialisms. It's how I used to make my money. But yeah, that actually seems like a really great assisted AI kind of use.
take care of some of like the tedium that goes along with some of this. It's like, it's a necessary part. And like, quite honestly, like sometimes you kind of enjoy doing that. Like you just want to turn on some, well, probably not turn on some music when you're editing music, but like just kind of get into the groove. But then other times it's just like, you just want it done.
Absolutely. And again, I could see myself going, well, maybe there's an opportunity to tweak it afterwards.
Right.
It's not that it's always going to get it right. It's not that it's always going to have exactly what you want. That's kind of the benefit of it. And even today, with a lot of the workflows that we have, you can still edit, tweak after the fact.
Yeah.
It's not sort of a one-way, I almost said one-way street. What is it with me? I have a jar at home, for those of you who watch my master classes. If I use expressions, I have to pay.
Yeah. I saw Trinity Artworks really quickly here. It says, as a video editor, simple, quick, but powerful, fast edit tools would be great for quick lifts using AI. And that's exactly, I think that's exactly the vision.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So Rod Rigob here is talking about, so I would like something that checks footage in my B-roll bin and highlights the potentially stronger sections.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because someone else out in the video space has something called like the boring detector. This is kind of the opposite of that, where we're detecting media that's, again, more visually interesting, more visually exciting. I think this is something awesome. Opper Depop says, make masking 10 times easier through proper object recognition, similar to what Photoshop does, but better. This is another great one because, again, we've already got this in Photoshop Lightroom today, where we can do these amazing masks based on faces, on facial characteristics. We've got some of this in After Effects already too, for tracking. It just seems like a logical extension of what you'd want in Premiere, in the editor. Again, across kind of the video products there. I love these. I love these.
Yeah,
ideas.
these are really great.
All right, going to going to our chats here. Yeah, so Henrik is saying, I would love to have that mixing option for podcasts and for Adobe Audition. Would be a big update. I love this too, and the idea again is, it's assisting you. It's getting you there that much faster. Now, I just saw a couple people here were chiming in about sort of, again, auto color. Now we have auto color. In fact, we introduced this last year at Max. My friend Karina Anglada showcased that. But being able to sort of auto color an entire timeline, kind of what you saw in the video, like based on prompts, like, oh, make this time of day or golden hour, or make it nighttime, or make it sort of snowy, or just color correct everything based on this particular prompt. Oh, I see, Mike Chambers is in the chat. Yes, excellent idea there, Mike. I mean, this is something that could apply to everything. You can do this very quickly, and again, it just kind of gets you most of the way there. We've been talking about this too. I've been really frank. I'm sorry, I can't read the monitor. I'm blind. The sort of, how much we love generative versus assisted AI.
Right.
And I've been pretty frank about how, areas where I'd still want to do it sort of completely manually. But honestly, after that video, the more I started thinking about it, I'm just seeing so much potential for it's the tedium.
Right.
Like remove the tedium.
Yep. Yeah. Remove the tedium. Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's like, I've talked to artists, they're like, I'm pretty sure I have, PTSD from this one project where I just had to sit there for hours and hours and hours and do this, this one single thing. Yeah. And like that's what we want to remove, like help make this process a little bit more enjoyable. I saw someone in the chat, I don't see it anymore, but they talked about, it was JA, if you could generate 3D objects or visual effects directly into frame and control, it would change the game totally. I think that would be amazing, and that's, those are the types of things that we're thinking about because, frankly, we're Adobe. Yep. We have all that stuff. You can think about putting video and 3D stuff. Doing. Jason and I were just talking about putting a video backplate into your 3D, environment.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. And again, we also talked. You could theoretically sort of do some of this even with Firefly today.
Totally.
I mean, as we're here on a green screen, if we wanted to simulate being in sort of a similarly shot studio room with a shallow depth of field, we could in theory generate that in Firefly today and composite ourselves into that somewhat convincingly.
But there's also lighting situations, you want to change perspective, you want to, get different angles. Yep. There's so much of that I think that, Firefly generative AI could enable.
Right,
which is very exciting.
So Eric Jail has a comment here. I'd like to see an upscaler for video talking about how NVIDIA has a pretty good one that runs in real time. Adobe could probably do something better in Harbor. Indeed. So this was something, I recently did another post here where we were talking about top requests. And yes, having, again, now we have super resolution in our neural filters and Photoshop.
Superzoom.
Superzoom, yeah, Superzoom. I would love to see that in video too. And it's funny because now with everyone sort of at the baseline shooting in 4K, you think, well, why would you necessarily need to upscale? But yes, you do. I mean, and the fact is that while we have some pretty cool tools, and Jacob, actually, if you want to switch to just a generic back for a minute, while we have some particularly cool tools for doing what we call detail preserving upscale in After Effects, it's a slightly older algorithm. So, and there's a render time component to it that, again, is still impressive with its result, but we're in a new era now.
Yeah.
And this is something where I could see having the same kind of super zoom in Firefly for video just to take us to that next level with like amazing results.
Sounds like a Marvel movie.
It does sound like a
Superzoom Firefly.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a comment that someone said that they said, I see Firefly, is able to really understand simple prompts, but I want a really long prompt and be able to have that generate, a video based on a script or, something that you put in. And I think like those are exactly, when I think about this kind of stuff, it's just like, it's putting in those baseline things. So again, I feel like a broken record. I've said this 5 times already. Like doing the stuff that you really want to do.
Yep. So let's see, we've got Short Translator 689 says, probably pie in the sky, but how about an extend shot feature that would generate new frames at the beginning or end of a shot, so I wouldn't have to slow down a shot to make it the length I need? Or remove camera bump. Select frames where the camera got bumped and generate non-bump frames. This is the stuff. And it's funny, I even wrote back, I was like, hey, nothing's too pie in the sky today. But these are so useful because, again, anyone who's doing any editing, there's been a time where you for whatever reason, you needed to extend, usually at the end of an edit, like you just needed to extend a frame X number, the shot, X number of additional frames for fade out, fade to black, whatever it is. Wouldn't it be awesome to just be able to do that without having to, stop frame, create the still frame, then extend the still frame. It's like 6 clicks to get there today. Do this automatically.
Yeah, I mean, we have outpainting, and outpainting, is essentially being able to extend your canvas on a 2D plane, but like you can totally imagine outpainting for video, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love this. And with regard to the remove camera bump, now it's funny, when I first read that, I was thinking the sort of the boom mic bump, which is probably even more common. But the camera bump's interesting too, because you're filming something, even if you're on a dolly or stabilized, and you just have that moment where you kind of mess up, fall, shake, lose your balance. Now, we do have, I mentioned this here in my reply, so we do have sort of camera shake de-blur in After Effects. I think it may even be a deprecated feature. I think it's still there, but it's kind of older tech. And we also have content aware fill. So you'd want to take out that shaky frame and fill it with something clean.
Right.
But also smooth or remove any sort of blur artifacts that you'd have on either side of that.
Yep.
So these are super practical. These are like really useful.
Yeah, these are great.
I love this. I love all the commentary here. Want to read another one?
Yeah, I'm reading the screen. Let's see. So we have a new musical graph intensity to go along with audio levels. Do you know what that?
Roland, we have a new musical graph. Oh, intensity to go along with audio levels. Yes, I mean, I could imagine having some, so are you, I'm not sure if he's responding to the video or just to be able to see more visually sort of how the sound is working within the project.
Yeah.
I mean, again, one of the things I think that and sound is one of those things too, where outside of just generative music, in general, I mean, it's the best. There's other ways that you can use this technology to really improve, like mixing, like we talked about, like auto ducking, like automatic equalization, or again, visualization of waveforms to make it easier to cut dialogue in a scene, or to find certain areas, or using AI to find. I know we can already do this with text and speech to text, and I'm going to show this in just a couple minutes. But find the piano part of this song, or find the bass drop in this track, or something for alignment and synchronization.
Yeah, I mean it's not too far off. I mean we already have, you can basically like align the audio to the the video track, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. Today, sure.
So
it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of great
amazing.
potential. In fact, I just saw talking about sort of some of what you're seeing kind of on the interwebs. I'm forgetting the company now. Let me see if I can pull it up. There's a company that's doing, I guess they do sort of post additive ADR, so dialogue replacement and sound replacement. So you'll feed it a video with no sound. So let's say it's me bouncing a basketball. This is me simulating. This is my basketball chops. You can see I've bounced a lot of basketballs in my day.
For as tall as you are, that is a little surprising.
I'm a terrible basketball player. Okay, so bouncing a basketball. So you feed it the video, there's no sound, and then you feed it the sound that you want it to synchronize to the motion.
Love it.
So it figures out that you're doing this bouncing motion, and then it could be the sound of a basketball, or I think the video example I saw was like a ping pong ball or something. I mean, it was something else, but it was doing all this after the fact, and it was analyzing the motion, and it was analyzing how that should sound and how the sound would change based on the duration of the motion. Kind of crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Kind of crazy. Now this. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I saw. I forget who it was. Pizzari, I think TV wanted motion or to be able to animate, have like preset animations that you could apply to Firefly characters that you generate, and that's also something that we were just talking about previously. Is like, once I can generate these amazing I liked the other day I was generating cute potatoes.
As you do.
As you do. Mainly because I think Meta came out with this sort of like you sort of like input an image, and then it's sort of like it's like sort of like Puppet Warp. It sort of like auto rigs it, and you can adjust it, and then they have some sort of like baked animations. And I was like, I want to do this, but I want to be able to generate, all the different states of the character for Character Animator, and then be able to take this, cute little potato that I generated and be able to do a bunch of crazy stuff with it in Character Animator.
Yep. I mean, it just seems like a super practical use for all kinds of things.
Yep.
And this kind of leads into, and Henrik is saying, noise reduction in recordings like live recording with a phone of a gig, and after that make all the noise disappear and also remove the shake of the video and the noise in the frames. Now, yes. So now you're talking video, and I see Henrik is also talking about the noise reduction that just got released in Lightroom earlier this week. So that's another one, sort of AI-based noise reduction. We've seen so much improvement in these kinds of algorithms over the last couple of years, both in the stills photography side and in the video side, and on the audio side as well. Now, I'm not going to show it here today. Now, tomorrow, during my master class, I will be showcasing most, if not almost all, of the newly announced features from NAB this past week in Premiere and After Effects. Also another opportunity to talk about Adobe Podcast Enhance, which is, now you can check this out today, podcast.adobe.com. It's free, it's a beta online. If you haven't checked it out already, I know a couple people were mentioning podcast in here. And this is an AI that basically takes any recording that you have, and primarily its success is when you have something that isn't properly mic'd.
Right.
So, maybe it's a decent recording, but you're in an echoey environment, or you're a little too far away from the camera, or it's not a great mic. It's like
basically me during the pandemic when I was trying to do podcast recordings with other people, and it ended up being this like tinny weird and sitting in my closet.
Tinny weird closet recordings. It can take those and again, using its own sort of machine learning libraries, make it sound very studio-esque.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And it's sort of phase 1, V1. It's free to try. It's called Adobe Podcast Enhance. So there is a podcast recording side to it that you have to sign up for. You can use the Enhance module today, podcast.adobe.com. Go there, check it out, upload something. It may shock you. There have been actually a couple of editors. Ben Holmes is one of them on Twitter who showcased, he took, I think it was from a recent, I don't know if it was from an NFL press conference or post Final Four press, some sports press conference where it's just chaos noise, and he compared it to what some of our competitors have versus like what you could already do in Premiere versus what you could already do in Audition and elsewhere, and Podcast Enhance it did kind of blow it away.
Really?
I mean, it was amazing.
I cannot tell you how much time I've spent trying to correct my voice.
Yes.
I mean, it needs correcting just in general.
Your voice is perfect. But
and thanks, Wade, by the way, for posting the link. Wade posted the link for everyone.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can go check it out.
Love it. Yes. But it is one of those kind of. It's an amazing tool, and it's not even a matter of, hey, if you're an audio person, you'll never use it. I'm the first to say, yeah, probably not, but if I have a really bad piece of audio, I could spend a lot of time trying to equalize it, trying to denoise it manually, trying to do all these other things. If this kind of just fixes it, I mean, who said it earlier?
Yeah.
You know, don't let them know how much billing time you're actually going to get. Like,
I think
just
that
do
was
it.
Wade again.
It's really, really pretty easy.
Yeah, I saw Henrik said that he's using a podcast along with Adobe Express somehow, and it's gone now, but it was
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, maybe I can go look it up
yeah,
again.
I think that might be one of the things where we may see something like that coming to Adobe Express. I mean, it is kind of a logical extension if you're doing. Again, in the spirit of what Express does and the content that you can make there, maybe you'll see something like that. Like take any voice recording. We have a lot of people who do sort of marketing videos into their laptop microphones.
Yep.
They never sound particularly great.
Yeah.
What if you could make it sound like not only was it on a sort of proper studio mic, but also compressed properly, equalized properly.
Right.
It tends to make everything. I'll say this, and I love it. It does tend to make things almost, and this was a comment of other people online, almost too broadcasty, too clean.
Yeah.
It's like, so what you wind up doing, though, again, this is where the AI becomes an assistant to you. You add back in some environment. You add back in a little reflection, a little reverb, a little sort of room ambience, a little room tone to again, take the edge off of the super clean nature of it. It's actually, and then that becomes super fun. Like it gives you new ways to be creative with sound in that way.
Yeah, and I think that's where it becomes interesting, where a lot of times AI will take something and it's like, it either like totally garbles something or it's like way too perfect and it feels sterile or there's no emotion in it. And I think that's where the humans come in. I think that's where humans will always need to be a part of this. Is like you can tell when there's something that's created with emotion and feeling and
All right.
So Henrik said the text to animate tool combined with enhanced speech from Adobe Podcast makes amazing short videos.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. I'll have to.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, if you're doing sort of marketing videos, or I say that, what does that even mean? Any kind of video, and you're not in the most.
It's influencer now,
okay,
Jason.
Thank you. The gray hair says it all. You just want it to sound good, right? Like anything, and I say this, and all editors know this, but anyone who's tuning in new, and our non-editors, just design crowd, people will deal with kind of okay video.
Right.
If the sound is bad,
can't do it.
You just kind of lose it, right?
Yeah.
You lose the message. And that's not to say that the music can't be overly loud and distorted, TikTok. I don't know why that's a thing necessarily. That is. You can get away with that. But dialogue, talking, if that's bad, you just lose people. So this is one of those things. It can not only clean it up and remove sort of noise and other little sonic anomalies and glitches along the way, but it can make anything really sound a lot better. Okay, so we have another one here. Evil Bert is asking about doing something with eye contact, being able to sort of reframe eyes in a video, and AI-based stabilization and cropping of high-res shots into multiple shots into lower resolutions. So the eye thing,
that one feels like that would be pretty helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been times I've been on camera before and I realize I'm like looking at the totally wrong thing, or you're trying to.
Like we are right now. Short camera.
You're trying to like read from a script or something and pretend like you're looking at the camera, and you end up,
Yeah, it can
kind of some sort of like creepy, far off gaze.
Yeah, it's a weird gaze. Now, again, so we have this already with our neural filters. You can do this, and I actually said in the response here too. I was like, yes, sometimes the shifting of the eye position, even though you can get it right, there is some kind of uncanny valley thing that happens there at times.
Yeah.
And again, we're not speaking out of turn. We support their cards. NVIDIA has this tech already, and I've seen a couple of the demos, and they're cool. But there is something a little. It's almost unnerving. It feels unnatural. And actually, State Lower was pointing out dealing with eyeballs is always tough, because it's the focal point no matter what else is in the frame. So we're tuned into the micro expressions that the slightest error will be unsettling. And this is very, very true. So it's almost like, the eyes can be right, but if the face is still pitched in a way that the eyes were over there, I'm uncomfortable now. Like, I'm making myself laugh. Yeah. I did this on some recent restorations on a live stream where I was doing some of this with still black and white photos, and I used the neural filters to reposition the eyes. And there is that threshold of going overboard.
Too far.
It's good, still kind of natural, super creepy. There's a very defined line. But I love this idea. Again, these are all these kind of, I love where everybody's going with this. Now, since we're on that.
Yeah, one thing I want to jump in, because I've seen this question twice. Jesse Camphor was asking if Firefly is available outside the U.S. It is available outside of the U.S. It is only in English, which is part of the reason why it's still in beta. There's a lot of things that we're working on behind the scenes in terms of, making sure, everything is great for every language before we release it. So you do have access to it. If you've requested access and you haven't heard anything, there is a very large list of people that we're going through for the beta, but I believe that they are saying that they will try to get through everyone.
Nice.
So hold tight.
Yep. Be patient.
Yeah.
Henrik is chiming in too. You can have bad light, bad hair day. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But the audio has to be perfect in the video. Agreed.
Yeah. Yep.
It is true. And
Agreed.
It's, especially in pro productions, it's the last thing that generally gets addressed. And it's always the 11th hour, but it has to be perfect.
Yeah.
A lot of sweaty upper lip nights mixing various things.
There have been times where I've tried to, I'll record something, and I have my face that I have to have.
Yes.
And then my
your face.
Because I have to have.
You have to have your face. You only get that here on Adobe Live.
But then the voice is terrible, and so then I'll go in my little closet situation and try to record. But then trying to match it up, is impossible. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. And actually, that's another great use of AI. Now, this is something which has kind of existed for a while in the plugin world, and maybe other NLEs have it, but doing sort of an EQ color match of sound. The techniques that have been around before, they've been okay. I would imagine with AI now, though, you could get it identical, right?
Yeah.
With the things people are doing. I want to go to Premiere Pro, but I also I'm a little surprised that I'm not seeing as much around sort of visual effects generation.
I've seen a little bit in the chat, but not a ton.
Did I miss a few? So I was curious, and let us know in the chats here. So again, anyone who's kind of following this stuff in the video space, particularly on Twitter and Reddit, probably seen a lot of things from, we were just talking about it, like Runway ML.
Yep.
Wonder Dynamics is another. Shout out to my buddy Aaron Rabinowitz. If you check out Aaron on Twitter, you can see some amazing tests that he's done with Wonder Dynamics stuff. So basically, AI-based compositing, but without the need for a green screen, without the need to really do your own sort of rigging and masking and everything else. And you can replace someone in a 2D scene
with a robot.
With a robot, with shadows and lighting, and render all that inside of an hour. Do you envision wanting to do that? The people watching today, do you find a use for that sort of thing? Are you excited about? Would you like to see that with Firefly and video, kind of in our suite of tools? That stuff to me, it's very it feels very science fiction, and it's crazy, and the speed with which that stuff is developing is also insane.
Yeah, and one thing that I think that Firefly would be really cool for, producers and directors and people who are, on a very tight budget, who are making, maybe a short film. I'm thinking like Sundance style, be able to, put together a few, Amazon boxes that you have laying around and shoot a city. Yeah. People that have low budget, just being able to, kind of work with what you have and still make these amazing films.
Yep.
I think there's...
It just kind of opens up a whole new realm of possibility. And that's the thing too, I'm seeing, okay, so everyone is saying yes please, yes and yes. Trinity, Ivan, Raymond, Edgar, Amanda. Where were you 20 minutes ago?
I know.
Yes, thank you. Okay. It's done now.
More cowbell.
No, that's great. Yes, more cowbell. Eric Williams, more cowbell. No, this is awesome. I think there's just so many possibilities now, and the more that we kind of get this feedback from you, the more possibilities that we'll see this stuff coming to our products in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is evolving so quickly. So I think this is a good time to kind of segue maybe into Premiere and keep the chats going.
Yep. I'll stop you.
You will keep
I'll interrupt you.
Keep an eye. So I wanted to focus on the big feature that we announced this week for Premiere Pro, and that is something called text-based editing. And it leverages our auto transcription model, which we released, 2 maxes ago now. It's been some time, which also allowed you to do auto captioning. So this kind of takes it a step further.
That was a game changer for me.
That was a game changer. No, super, super cool. Again, you had plugins and things that could do that before. Now you could do it natively in Premiere. And we've since then added, I think we have 17 plus languages now, so we're expanding that. We're kind of delivering on that promise, which is great. I know it's still not all in there. I hear you. They hear you. We're getting more languages. You were just talking about languages.
Yeah.
But it was great, and it was game-changing, and this is kind of the next evolution of that. So text-based editing is really what it sounds like. It's the ability to take a transcript from your video and basically cut, copy, paste like you're doing a Word document to do your edits.
And I think that this was it last year in Sneaks called Project Blink. So it's kind of an iteration
so
on
this is
that.
Yes, so this is kind of an iteration of that. In fact, there's some things in here which I didn't realize we had implemented. It not only detects, obviously, pauses and silence, but it also detects like little vocal
that's
pausing
what I
things.
need.
Yeah. So now, just to be very clear, this is available in the Premiere Pro beta today. The Premiere Pro beta. So you just need to go to the CC desktop app. It's available to anybody. You can download the Premiere Pro beta if you're so inclined. They can also coexist side by side with the release versions very safely. You don't have to worry about that. If you want to try, it is a beta.
Yeah, and I do have to say, because it took me a while to actually find the betas when I was looking for them, but you have to scroll down on the sidebar and Creative Cloud Desktop, and then you'll find them.
So if you go to apps here and
all the way down.
see beta apps right there, and if you go to beta apps, then you'll this is where you can grab them. You can see I've got Premiere, After Effects,
All the secret stuff.
all the secret stuff in there. So anybody can download this if you want to try. This is coming soon. When? Soon.
I want to just, before you jump in there, I want to answer a question. So I've seen a lot of people asking, can Firefly do this? Can Firefly do that? So right now, just as a reminder, Firefly is still in beta, and right now it really isn't integrated into any of the Creative Cloud apps, and that's where we're going. So we do have the playground. So when people talk about Firefly, they're talking about a Firefly website, or internally we were calling it the playground because it's kind of like a playground.
Yes.
It's like kind of playing around.
Yes.
But all of this stuff is what we're kind of speculating on when it gets into the, Premiere or After Effects or all these cool things that it will be able to enable once it's in the app.
Yes.
So just trying to clear the
air. And just for the clarification, that video that you saw, those things aren't out yet. Just to be extremely clear. That's why we're talking to you. We want to hear, did you like that? What would you like to see more of? A lot of these things are already in development. We've seen some of these things. We can't say which.
And this is your opportunity to influence the direction of the creative future.
Yes. Now, I just, I just missed it, but Roland Collenberg was saying that the auto edit feature can be, I think, I missed your wording.
Is it an express?
Well, for text-based editing, it can, potentially, it could be a little robotic. And it can potentially be that. Here's the thing. In particular, for rough cutting, for putting that initial cut together, this is where I think this really shines. Is this necessarily the finished, what's happening to my voice? The finished edit in one step? No, your regular cut isn't that. So I definitely hear what you're saying, but check this out. It's impressive. And again, this is V1 of this. This is like our first iteration. It's good.
Yeah.
It's neat. It's nice. It's cool. Why don't I just use more adjectives?
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you show us?
I know words. I'll show you. All right. So here we are inside of the import panel in Premiere Pro. I'm going to select my 4 various clips here. And for those of you who haven't been in the new import panel, or maybe you're just new to Premiere, but you'll see there are some new additions. Again, I'm running the beta. One of them is to automatically transcribe. So you can automatically transcribe on import now, which is super nice. Why do that, you say? Well, just before it was more steps. more clicks, opening the panels, doing all these things. Now you can do it on import. You don't have to do it. You can choose your languages, as mentioned. Here's all of your currently supported languages.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. I'm proud of us. You know, we've had other offerings in our video space in the past where the language libraries did not expand quite so quickly. So again, we keep iterating on this. We're listening, trying to make this better for everybody.
Yep.
Then you've also got speaker labeling. Now again, this is a feature that was already native to the auto transcription side in Premiere, but now you can do this on import. So you can tell it, yes, separate the speakers automatically or do not separate them. If you've got an interview or you got someone off camera, it's actually really useful. Because again,
super useful.
In terms of doing that rough cut, you don't see the interviewer. So there's a lot of chatter and a lot of someone sitting there awkwardly, which you would normally be scrubbing through. Well, now you can just look at the transcript and go, oh, that's speaker one, that's that. I don't need the filmmaker guy, I just need the interviewee. So really cool.
Yeah,
all right?
And Parzival says, well, I need to learn all the software, Premiere, Lightroom, etc. for this Adobe video. I think it's a yes.
Yeah, well, if you want to do all those things, maybe. But here's the other thing too. As you're gonna see with something like this, so let's go ahead and click Create. I'm gonna replace that. You can, yes, you have to learn it essentially, but you don't have to be an expert in it.
Right.
And there was a time where you kind of did have to be an expert in these things, and you don't really have to anymore. And I think a lot of these workflows, some of the things that they do is they assist you. They make it that much easier to get started, to get to know. And then of course you do have things like, if we go into our workspace here, just to point this out, I think this gets overlooked a lot. We have the learning tab in Premiere and After Effects.
That's super handy.
There's a lot of good stuff in there. So here we are now inside of Premiere. I want to point out too that, again, in the beta and coming soon to the release version, there will be a new text-based editing, text-based editing workspace. So this is the workspace that I'm in. I'm actually going to take this stuff out of the timeline here. And let's focus on this first clip here. So one of the things that you'll note here is that over in the transcript panel, so we have the whole transcript as you see it. And I'm going to start by kind of, again, assembling a rough cut of this first part of this interview. So one of the things you'll notice too is that we have speaker 1, speaker 2. So speaker 1, if I play this in here, we don't have, let me make sure my audio is up here.
While you're doing that, Flo asked, if you don't have professional sound, will it still be able to get the transcript? And I believe the answer is yes. You've been playing around with it.
Yes. So yes, it doesn't have to be great. Now, that said, if it is in an extremely terrible, noisy, club environment with going on in the background, I don't know how great the transcription is going to be. But yes, it doesn't have to be perfect. I will say, and again, I can only speak to, I know we actually talked to this, our product management just said this at NAB. With English, in general, you've got about a 90% accuracy in the transcriptions. Not to say that it can't be that in some of the other languages. I just know, having done it and what the stats I've seen from English transcription, pretty good. Obviously, yes, there's UK English and some other things maybe less effective in certain instances, but it doesn't have to be perfectly recorded. It helps. Now, again, another example of where if the transcription doesn't work there, that could be an opportunity to send the audio to something like Podcast to see if it can clean it up, particularly if you're newer to this process, all right? So I'm gonna come in here and first I'm gonna do is I'm gonna edit the speaker names. So speaker 1, I can see, great, and let's do one, just say, I'm Michael. Let's go ahead and we'll call that filmmaker. And speaker 2 is this guy here. His name is Michael Bodie.
Now this is really cool because this is new, right?
Well, the editing the speaker names was in there, but but all of the functionality here now you're going to see this is new, and this is where this gets really super cool. So we're going to start by going to where he gave an intro of himself, Michael Bodie. So I'm just going to search on the word Bodie. And when I do that, now what I can see is all the places where he said his name. And it looks like he did a couple of takes here, right? So you can say, I'm Michael, here, I'm gonna zoom in. So he said, I'm Michael Bodie, and I, do you want the whole time? Sorry, yeah. So he made mistakes. this is where it gets so cool. Am I whispering? This is where it gets so cool because I'm not needing to have to listen through all this. I can see, this is the good one. So I'm now going to make a selection here, like this.
I feel like I want to do a drum roll.
And I can right-click Insert, I can tap the Insert button, or I can hit the standard Insert key, the comma, and now that gets automatically added to my timeline.
I'm Michael Bodie. I'm the executive producer.
I'm assuming
for
the sound is playing out there. Yeah, okay, Jacob. Okay, I can't hear it. All right, so right away now, we're starting to build up this rough cut. Okay, so let's go now to, I want to search on, he starts talking about his team. So I'm going to search on our team, all right? So again, this is where this gets super powerful, Brooke, because he says, oh, yeah. So our team, by the way, these little ellipses that you see, these are all of the mouth glottal pause sounds, and it tells you the duration of each of those.
Very cool. Especially when you're trying to get your video to a very specific length.
Yes. Cut the dead weight. Cut the dead space. So this one looks pretty good. So you can see he said, so our team is responsible. So again, to the point of just being able to cut something quickly, we're doing our rough cut here, we can get right to it. Let's go ahead and again, do a little comma right there. And then there's another section where he talks about the experience. So here's a bit of it here. All right, let's see, do you have it somewhere else in here? No, I think that's actually it. Capturing the experience of the festival. I think it's the last one that I want. Okay. We're sharing like an entire experience. Yeah, this is what I want. So I'm gonna do it here. All right. And now in our timeline, we have his edit, and we'll come back to that in just a sec. We're gonna play that one too. Okay.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
So when you remove some of those dots and the ums and becauses and those other things,
yes,
does it also edit the video at the same time and sort of what would be the word, like blend it or interpolate it together?
That is a great question, Brooke, and the answer is yes, it does. So here now, and by the way, if you notice, it's kind of changing views here. So one of the new features in here as well is something called Follow Active Monitor. And I'm not going to show multicam text-based editing today. I'm going to show that tomorrow. Can't let everything out of the bag.
What time?
It'll be 10:30 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, right here on Adobe Live.
Great.
So we're gonna kind of see the full breadth of text-based editing here. But to Brooke's point, so if I highlight these little ellipses sections and I hit delete, that now performs a ripple edit inside the timeline as well.
That's insane.
Yeah. So it's crazy, and it works. And we're gonna hear it in just a second. Okay, so let's get to our friend Jason here. So again, same thing, we're gonna do his intro. Now I think the first one was, I think it was perfect. So hold on, let me just get to the end of my timeline here.
Thanks, Wade, for posting the link to Jason's masterclass tomorrow.
Okay, let's come over here. All right, and he says, I'm Jason Nichols, I'm the creative director of the film festival. Okay. And we'll insert that. And by the way, you will notice that it's colored in rows, what I just did while you were talking a moment ago. Because I've got multiple interviewees, I just changed the color. So it's just easier to see. And this way it kind of allows me to identify inside the timeline, because you're gonna see something really cool in a second too. Because right now we're just using the transcript to kind of assemble the story, the basic story. But we also have the ability to then completely reorder the story after the fact. I know you can't wait. Okay. Yeah, right.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So once again, we'll go into roll. All right. The heart of my role at Sundance. Okay. Maybe we'll start it from here. Okay. Same thing. Insert that there.
We have a question while you're doing that. We have a question. Will you add more Slavic languages like Bulgarian? That is a great question. I would be more than happy to take that back to the team. I don't know the answer. Do you know the answer?
I don't know the answer, but again, Sorry, I had to look. Ivan, thank you for letting us know. Yes, we are always trying to expand the library, so I can't promise anything, but if we get a lot of requests for that, yes, obviously, if we could have every language in there, every library, we would do that. So
perfect.
But that's great. Again, this is the place to make those suggestions. We definitely we love that. Art is saying, can we use unique input modalities integrated in our hardware, speech to voice on our computers, for example, and use this for text editing?
Oh, that's a great question.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah.
Another one to take back to the team.
I mean, so in theory, yes, you could create a transcript from anything, and then I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but you'll also notice that, and there are some new options here, you can in fact export the transcript, export it to a text file, and export it to a CSV file, and then even skipping further ahead, if you decide to create captions, you can create SRT files, and you can even create some of like the standard broadcast captioning files as well to be used as a sidecar.
That's very cool.
In your external video. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, Art, but
and
cool
I
idea.
do have to say, I don't know if I'm supposed to share this, but I did see one of the PMs for Premiere and After Effects chatting in there.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Okay. So let's put this last part here. I was just looking for heart. All right. And now we have kind of our basic edit in here. So I'm just let's wind this back. Just gonna play a little bit of this. Now again, I can't hear, so I'm just gonna pretend like I can. And let's see how this is sounding.
I'm Michael Bodie. I'm the executive producer for this. So our team is responsible for making a wide...
Oh, and did I cut off? I can see I cut off, I'm the producer I cut off Sundance. Okay, that's my bad. That's fine, we can put that back.
Variety of video content. These pieces include our main kind of like hero content, which is called the Daily Recap, which is designed to capture all of these events at the festival, all these experiences, and all the amazing people who...
Okay, so right away as I'm looking at this, I can see he says, which is called the Daily Recap. And then he goes into some detail that gets a little bit long. So maybe I want to go from here and then cut to, we're sharing like an entire experience for people off the mountain to be able to participate in the Sundance Film Festival. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to delete this. I'm going to take this, I'm going to delete this.
And while you're editing that, I saw a question earlier in the chat. I can't remember who asked it, but they were asking about Firefly helping out with asset generation for, assets that are time intensive and laborious for studios to produce. And that's an interesting question, because there's definitely, I used to work in agency world, and back in the Flash days,
Yeah.
you'd do one Flash banner and then you'd do the other 20 Flash banners that were all the same. And so I think, this is definitely something that we've been looking into is, could Firefly help out with some of that stuff that, honestly, you kind of just want automated?
Right.
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 You spend your creative, juices, for lack of a better term, on creating the original, and then you don't have to worry about,
Right.
doing 50 different other video versions of it.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is, again, the idea of sort of iteration and reiterating over and over again. The more you think about these things, it seems cliche, but yes, you can just sort of have endless iterations, endless possibilities.
Right.
And yes, sometimes you want it more directed. I'm going to film my own sunset. I'm going to film my own ocean, whatever. Film my own ski slope. But if you can have those generated in any form, fashion, and just keep doing new variations and keep adding more text descriptors to make it even more specific, I don't know. It's a super exciting time. I see we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, we do.
So
we're running.
I want to kind of cut to the end here. So anyway. 1 minute. Oh my God, 1 minute. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the last bit of text here from Jason, and whoops, I need my mouse. Okay, and I'm gonna cut, and I'm gonna come up to the beginning here, and I'm gonna paste, and notice it completely reorders our video, and now it starts with Jason.
Nichols.
Amazing.
And that is all the time we have.
That's very cool.
That was amazing. How did we get through this so quickly?
I don't know. This has been super fun.
Super fun.
Thank you everyone for participating in the chat. Tons of great ideas. I feel very energized.
I do too. This was awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, hope to see you again soon.
In 3 years?
And hopefully less than that. And for everybody watching, thank you so much. We've got a lot more coming on
Thank
Adobe Live,
you.
so stick around. We'll see you again next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.